I will point out one thing. One of my favorite quotes I've heard tonight, Elaine, is an old quote from Dick Durbin, who called Brett Kavanaugh the Forrest Gump of Republican politics. And he called him that because he has essentially been there at every major, kind of watershed moment over the last 20 years. Go back to Bush v. Gore. Go back to Whitewater. Now you look here in the 2000s at some of the very consequential cases we've had come up. I think that's a very interesting framing around Brett Kavanaugh.
She should do what we did not do well. She should also thank Hillary Clinton for blazing a trail for her, because there's a lot of cracks in that invisible wall that Hillary Clinton talked about putting in, and a lot of them are going to benefit people like Amy Klobuchar.
Because this is the clearest example of you showing your pushback to Donald Trump, is whether or not you can effectively articulate a case against Brett Kavanaugh. And again, it's a 2020 test that is very, very serious. And it's, by the way, it's not just these folks on this committee. It's governors. It's going to be House candidates. It's going to be people in the Republican Party who are running against. This is setting up to be a real organizing issue for both sides. But they know he's Donald Trump's choice. And they know that if Joe Manchin or Heidi Heitkamp or Joe Donnelly goes against them, they know that that means that they're going against the president. And I'd be interested to see how their rivals are going to play that. We saw Mike Braun in Indiana already come out very strongly to try to bracket Joe Donnelly on that issue. I imagine we'll see the same thing, even though Manchin hasn't committed. We'll see the same thing from Morrissey in West Virginia. And I think what you're going to see is Democrats, every time the president tries to pivot to these cultural issues, Democrats are going to push right back to those kind of pocketbook, meat and potato type of issues.
Very interesting. First of all, what do you make of the way Governor Northam has navigated this?
One word: Trump. He's taken his cues from our president. This is exactly how President Trump would react if he found himself in a situation like this. And I think what we found is that a lot of politicians have decided, I'm not going to follow the rules of convention. Also, just thinking about the 2020 race, I think Jamel Bowie on Face the Nation yesterday, I think he said something about how this was the woke primary. Who was the most woke out of anybody? And I think that's bled over into how we, how we govern ourselves in everyday behavior as well, particularly for Democrats.
Racial stuff, as you call it, has gotten people over decades killed in Mississippi. It's gotten people's rights revoked in Mississippi. So it's more than just the racial stuff. I take your point, and I appreciate what you said about the Confederate flag. I guess what I would hope is that you would push your party and you would push Cindy Hyde-Smith to be a leader in that way. And should she win tomorrow, I'd hope that she be the first person saying that Confederate flag should come down. Talked about this. This isn't even about Kavanaugh anymore. This is a litmus test on Trump. It is. Right? This is tribalism. You know this, Chris. This is about red team, blue team. And I don't think people see Kavanaugh just as Kavanaugh. They see it as Trump. So if you're Joe Manchin in West Virginia, you can't just sit this one out and say, Dr. Ford has a compelling case, because you still have a lot of voters who think this is Donald Trump. This is a stand-in for Donald Trump. Not only a lack of leadership, David, but also somebody who targets race, right? Again, he weaponizes race. We haven't had a president who has used this as a tactic since Woodrow Wilson, okay? This is a president who sounds more like Bull Connor than anybody we've ever had occupy the Oval Office.
And he had a bill in front of him, Sebastian. He could have signed it.
Refused.
Were you in his ear telling him to sign it?
Why did they do that?
Because he had an opportunity to sign it. By the way, not a Democratic bill, not a liberal bill. He had a bill that he said he would sign.
You have no answer,
show me.
Right? You have no answer.
Show me. The president should go visit Missouri. He should show me. Show me that this president cares about this. And he doesn't. This is a political issue for him.
Don't let the
and he has people like you in his ear, and that's the problem. That's why people don't trust what they hear on TV.
Right, even though all the Eagles stood the entire year, no one knelt, no one sat down. Check the Washington Times, February 1st, 2018.
So
none of them knelt, none of them sat down, and the president decided
then why don't they go to the White House?
Well, because none of them want to be there because they don't want to be associated with it.
Evan, you talked about they're not getting anything done. They are getting things done, actually. 2 Supreme Court nominees, a tax bill, a rollback of all the Obama era regulations. I think Republicans are getting plenty done. I think voters are saying, we don't like what you're getting done.
At this point, really, that's all you can go on. There haven't been any debates. A lot of the pressing of the flesh in Iowa and New Hampshire has not happened yet. So, of course, he's the former vice president for a popular president. He's going to top most lists.